Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of Off the Post, a net results soccer show. Really kind of a quick one tonight. I wanted to announce the start of card creation season for net results soccer. So I last year created I think about 19 sets in the spring, summertime frame. There's also the MLS and other sets that go at the end of the year. But there's 19 sets that I created that I think 18 or 19 that fall in the end of year in summer. So the Belgium Juliper set is the first set that we create, and that set is I do it after the regular season. They have a regular season, then they have a playoff, and their playoff really is it splits the league into three different parts, and part of it plays 10 games, and part of it plays 6 games, and you go based on how well you finished in the standings in the first 30. So if you're in the top group, you play the other teams in your top group basically half your games. Out of the, you end up playing 40, 20 of those will be against the top group. So I don't put the playoffs in there. Just the choice that I've made. I do it pre-playoffs, so you can play those playoffs if you want. Uh, really, the drawback is any player that plays in those last 10 games or 6 games, if you're in the bottom, aren't going to be carded. But it's a more balanced set. So this is everybody plays everybody else twice. I think it's just fair and it's more balanced that way. And this might be the last year we have to do it. I think the Belgium Juliper League is going to 18 teams next year, so they'll move to a 36 game schedule, and we don't have to do this anymore. So this should be the last one. So, anyways, this is the start. The other thing is there's going to be some changes, or at least a change in the cards this year. Moving forward, we are putting a P plus on the keeper card. So any keeper that gets an assist can have a P plus rating. And I've pulled up the large set. There's one keeper in the Belgium set that has that. Let's go ahead and look at that. Brent Gabriel for Zulte Waregem. I know I didn't pronounce that correctly. He had an assist, so he has a 62. Basically, that puts the team into P plus. If you play the game to where you put a marker on the player that gets a P plus, he now gets a marker, and if the team scores, he can get an assist. It shouldn't happen very often. He had one in 30 games, so it's still there. So that number is now there. You'll see that on the sets moving forward. Another thing that you're going to see is, I'll show it here in a minute, is the sets are going to come in a bundled set now. So instead of me putting up a file for the regular format and the large format, and now the business card format, which people like because they can print them the on some perforated business card stock, which is really nice. It's quick. I just put it in my bundled them all together. Plus I put the rules in there. Plus I put the sample score sheet that David produced back when he was making the set. So there's some files, the rule changes for my custom cards. All that is put into the package, and I'll show how that works. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is kind of discovered it today. Well, didn't discover football. FB Reference, as many of you know, had detailed stats last year, and Opta said you can't use them anymore, so they had to change to another stat provider, which means they now no longer have the detailed sets. I don't think Belgium was a detailed set anyways before, but some of these sets, the detailed sets, had all the data I needed pretty much, except for like one piece to be able to create the set. And now I have to kind of piece together from multiple sites, and it's not going to be a problem for some sets. For some sets, it's going to be. And I think the one that I looked at really that I know off the bat I probably can't do is the Spanish female league, which again I made that because I wanted to see how good that Barcelona team was. I don't think there's much interest in that for getting a set, but I don't think they have very little stats on Football Reference, and it's just not available for me to easily go out and get. It's not really worth the 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 bang for the buck really isn't there. I mean, all these are free. Everything is free. I do it for the joy of making the sets and for the joy of the game. But if it's going to be a lot of really hard work for a set that's that obscure, I'm probably not going to do it. I don't know who else is going to get affected. I know Liga MX is going to be harder. Actually, Liga MX is in a situation where I created this set last year, and because it's the next set to go, I think. Uh, I created the set last year, and right after I finished the set, Football Reference changed it from a regular to a detailed league, and so I had to recreate it with the detailed stats. Uh, so I can create this. I can create that set. It unfortunately one of the sites I need to create from breaks the league into the aperture and the clausura, and I need to put those stats together. But then they include the playoff stats, so now I need to extract those playoff stats from the regular stats. And when team in that league, if players play on more than one team, then they only get listed once with their combined stats. It's again, it's work. I've figured it all out how to do it and how to work through it, but it's still it's kind of a pain in the butt. But I like the League AMX, so I will put that time in for there. So, what I discovered today was shots on target for players don't match shots on target against for keepers. And I thought it always came down to penalties and own goals. And so I was finishing up the set today. The last thing I do is the keeper stats and put all of that together. And really the last thing I do is put the shots face and then make the on ratings for the keepers. And it just I noticed there were some numbers that looked weird. It's just I made a lot of stats that looked weird. And so I dug deeper and I saw those numbers didn't line up, and it was off by 100 and something, 130 something, which ends up being, it's a couple percent. And so I tried to investigate and see what this is. And again, I thought it was penalties and maybe penalty saves and own goals. And I've talked about this a little bit in the past. And it realized it wasn't that. The keeper I checked, I think it was this guy, Brent Gabriel. I think it was his card. And you start checking, you check game two, the team took 6 shots, but he only has 5 shots on target against. And there's no penalties and there's no own goals. And then it's like, okay, well, that's weird. How does that happen? And then you go to whoscored.com and the opponent had 7 shots and only 3 shots on target, or 3 shots on target against for him. And how does that happen? And or actually, it was 5 shots on target against instead of 6, so 7 and 5. And then I checked sofascore.com and same thing, 7 shots but only 5 against. And I think what this comes down to, if you check on whoscored.com, if you look at each game in the match center, which again, I've gone into detail and looked at these. I have to do that now because the detailed stats are gone. I have to go into individual games and find who took shots against which goalies if there's a sub. But players will get a little C with a circle on a C and a circle, and that's cleared off the line. And I think what happens is if a player clears the ball off the line, the shooter's getting credit for a shot on target. The keeper is not getting the credit for a shot on target faced. And so those numbers don't line up. And so what ends up happening is the on target percentage is wrong. And so how do I fix that? Well, I went through it detailed and took some things out and modified some things. I got the goal percentage. So the shooter's goal percentage and the goalie's save percentage to match. So those 2 numbers matched. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That's the big thing. The goals are the big thing. But then you want to make sure the shots on target now are going to be accurate. And so I looked through that, and there's just no way. They don't. I haven't found a site that keeps track of cleared from the goal line stats. Even though Who Scored puts it on there in the game, I haven't seen where. I didn't dig into super deep detail, but in the detailed stats, that's not there. That's not available. And so ultimately what I would have to do is go game by game. And for all the sets that I create, I am not willing to do game by game stat tracking for goal. I honestly, I used to do this back in the day, but I would do it throughout the season, and that way I didn't get hit with, I have to do now however many thousands of games. I'm not going to do that. So I have a modifier that I've created. That modifier will be based on the league and the numbers and the shooters versus the keepers. And it's going to change the on rating for the keepers to hopefully get more in line with what the on target rating is for the shooters for the league. So we'll see. That's kind of one of those things we discovered early this year where fouls drawn and fouls committed are not the same number. I just, being from the United States, being from North America, where we have stats in baseball and football, basketball and hockey. In hockey, a shot on target is a shot that either goes in the goal or is saved, not a shot that's blocked, not a shot that hits the pipe. Nothing, none of that. In baseball, singles plus doubles plus triples plus home runs equals hits, and hits divided by at bats is your batting average. And so it's frustrating that the stats for soccer. I don't even know if there's a guide. I'm guessing there is. I haven't looked it up. But is there a guide to say what actually constitutes this stat? Football Reference. If you go to Football Reference, which a lot of people go to the sports reference sites because they're very good. They have a lot of stuff on them with all the different sports, and they're accurate for the most part. I think they're pretty accurate. But in soccer, do not you can't trust what you see in Football Reference for keeper stats because they're just wrong. They're not wrong, but they're not what you would think they are. So the stats take into account own goals and they take into account PK goals, and in shooters they don't, and so those numbers just don't jive, and so the number that just it doesn't line up. So if you're going through and you see a goalie that has a rating in our game that is whatever, the ones I looked at were I think it was Club Bruges. I looked at their save ratings. Maybe it wasn't them. It wasn't Club Bruges. Royal Antwerp. The one where the United keeper came from, whatever team that is, Royal Antwerp. They have a 76 and a 80 and a 77, but on Football Reference, the save percentages don't add up to that. Well, you take out the saves from the penalty kick saves, you take out the goals from the penalty kick goals, you take out the own goals, and then okay, now it starts to look like it lines up. So that's it. That's my rant for the day. I created. I was out of town, got back into town yesterday afternoon, made this set pretty quickly. 16 teams is great. That's a good number to create a set. It's way better than 24. Just goes that much quicker. The detailed stats on Football Reference made it so much easier. Really, the big thing I miss on the detailed leagues, if you go into a game, it listed all the shots and what time the shots were taken. So one of the hardest things is doing goalies that subbed in the middle of a game. Because I can count the shots that were faced. You'd think in theory, and it's not right anymore, but anyways, you count the shots that were faced by just adding up the totals in the games they played. But when they sub in, you can't do that. So you have to go in to find out how many minutes they played. And Football Reference had that in detail stats. Now they don't. So I have to go into other sites to track that down, which I can, but that's really the hardest, biggest pain in the butt of all of them. So anyways, what does this look like? So if you go to the Net Results Soccer Delphi form and the custom card set link, you click on that and that thread will come up. The first thread is kind of all the links for the games, the game information. Most of this is included now in the package that I send you. But then if you click on this red link here, it takes you to my website where I host all the files. So the custom card sets are over here. The rules are over here. There's the link to the YouTube videos I've created. That's my channel. The frosted faces down here, I don't know if you can see it. I have to move this. Let's see if I can do this. I have a link to Frosted Faces. People ask periodically if they can donate or give me some money for these. I ask if you donate to Frosted Faces. It's a foundation here that rescues senior dogs and then tries to home them for the rest of their lives, and they give free vet care and all that. And it's all done by donation, so it's a really good, worthy cause here. So anyways, if you care to donate, please donate to them. But if you go to the custom card sets, now you can see all the information I set here. Starting in 2025-2026, downloads will contain all three formats, and now the possession number is on the team cards. Each of the leagues, I fixed the icons. Some of the leagues were really blurry. I fixed all the icons, so you have all the leagues that are here. And if you scroll down to the Belgium League, the Belgium Juliper, you'll see now it says all formats. You click on all formats, and it'll take you to my Google Drive, and you can download that file right here. It'll download the zip file. When you unzip it, you will have the business card format in BCF, the large format, and the regular format. There's a read me first here. In that is the information on printing the cards and what to get on Amazon if you want to print them out on business cards. So that's it. This is the kickoff of the card creation season. Rooney wants to go out. She probably wants food. I hope you guys enjoy it. Look for more card set. I think the Liga MX comes out in about a month. So we'll be going there, and then it starts getting crazy with all the leagues finishing up in May. So that is it. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave a comment here. You can go to the Delphi forum and message me there or leave a comment on that. We're also on Facebook. If you go to the Facebook page, you can leave a message there. I know I make the cards, and I'm now the one that making them. I highly recommend the game. It's a really, really good soccer game. It's accurate. It's quick. It's fun. All the players are carded, so everybody, if you want to play any player that has played, they're there. Just can't recommend it enough. So, and it's free. All of it's free. The only thing you got to do is print it out. So that is it. I hope you guys have a good evening. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week and a weekend. I will probably still going through a pretty busy time here, so I'll be making some videos at some point. I'm not doing a whole lot of gaming videos right now. It's spring break, so I feel a little bit better, which is great. But once we get to the middle of May, things will be better, and especially creating cards. So that's it. I will talk to you guys in the next video. I'll talk to you guys online if you're there. Stay safe out there. Stay cool. It's been hotter than heck out here in the West, so hopefully it cools off. But have a good night. Have a good weekend, and I will talk to you guys later. Good night.